back with the show. It's the Pop Culture Cosmos. Thanks so much again for watching, listening. Truly appreciated. Xbox, Xbox, Xbox. When it comes to Xbox, if you're a follower or a fan, I remember the old days when I guess it was the console wars and you always had to go one side or the other. And, I've had various consoles from all the different manufacturers over the years. But I'll be honest with you, I kind of always lean towards Xbox. They're either ease of use, either had the more powerful system or the better interface. With this latest generation of consoles, Xbox, despite the fact that they had the most powerful console, despite the fact they have with the Xbox Games Pass the best platform to play video games on, they have managed to go ahead and make mistake after mistake after mistake. And I thought after the dust had settled on their acquisition of whatever, how many billions of dollars for Activision, Blizzard, and all the things that comes with it, Call of Duty, Overwatch, Warcraft, etc., 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 that, okay, finally, Xbox is on a good path. With the announcements in January of what was upcoming for the year, for what most of Xbox is going to deliver, we saw things like Hellblade, which is coming out here in a couple weeks, Senua's Sacrifice 2, that is coming out here in just a couple weeks, like I said. You had the Machine Games version of Indiana Jones, that's coming out later this year. You might have Obsidian's Avowed. You might have other awesome games finally coming on the way down the pipeline from Xbox. But of course, Xbox, like I often say about the Lakers, just can't stand prosperity, because their recent actions this week for a company that did report profits in the latest quarter, obviously that wasn't mired with the Xbox brand, because Microsoft and Xbox this past week, they closed 3 studios and have reassigned another studio to loop into, I guess, combine with another developer studio. So yes, Xbox has closed down 3 studios. They've reassigned another. So with that, the makers of Hi-Fi Rush, the pleasant game that was released, that was just dropped out of nowhere and actually garnered very, very positive reviews. A really good game that's still available now. In fact, it's on actually other platforms now. It's on PlayStation and Xbox. Their developer over in Japan, Tango Gameworks, that was closed. There was the makers of Prey, and unfortunately last year's disappointment, Redfall, in Arcane Austin. They were shut down. There was the maker of the mobile game, The Mighty Doom, Alpha Dog Games, that was closed. And Roadhouse Studios will be absorbed into ZeniMax Online Studios, makers of the Elder Scrolls Online. So for a company that has made some very questionable decisions in the past, is this continuing that trend because of the fact that it's gotten so much of a PR backlash in the past few days? And here to discuss that, as far as that, should we still stay Xbox fans at all? Should Phil Spencer be fired? All these things, as far as it's concerned, when it concerns Xbox, a good man here is indeed one of the also good supporters of Xbox, who probably feels a lot of hurt, a little betrayal, so much more, like I do. It is TJ Johnson. And TJ, glad to have you here. I know when I speak to Josh here on the weekend, he is not exactly going to be thrilled when he talks about this. And I know when I spoke to you and you reached out to me, you were not as well.
Yeah, first and foremost, Gerald, as always, thanks so much for allowing me the opportunity to be on the show. Always a pleasure, even when we're talking about things in, the vein or the nature of layoffs in regards to Microsoft. So thank you again for having me here on the Pop Culture Cosmos. Um, I love doing that. Uh, Yeah, Gerald, it doesn't look good, and I want to be very, 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 very clear and very transparent in what I'm thinking here. I'm a gamer first and foremost. Like you, I've owned multiple consoles. I think I probably would agree with saying that I lean more Xbox in regards to my preference. Um, it would definitely be more Xbox than PlayStation, than Nintendo, and sometimes those two are switched because right now I'm playing my Nintendo more than I'm playing my PlayStation. But my point in saying that is I've always definitely leaned more Xbox, but again, I'm a gamer, so I really don't identify. If I had to self-identify, I self-identify as a gamer. But with that being said, before all that, I'm a human being, and this is exactly the type of thing that people were concerned about with this acquisition, with this Blizzard Activision acquisition. This is exactly what they were talking about. There is zero reason that Microsoft should have been as aggressive as they were in regards to these buying of so many different developers and whatnot. If within 12 months of this acquisition officially happening, you're closing studios, you're trying to consolidate and restructure whatever structure it is that you guys are going for, and it's costing people jobs, it's costing people their livelihood, um, which I understand it's a dog eat dog world and it's corporate America, and they have a system and a way that they do things, and I get it, but I don't, because the optics of it, Joe. The optics of it don't look good. Um, this was supposed to be a good thing, purchasing up these smaller studios, or purchasing up these studios and allowing them to be part of the Microsoft umbrella, and all these pro developer tweets that Phil Spencer was sending, all these pro developer tweets that Mike Greenberg was sending out. Everybody was pro the developer, pro giving them opportunity to do the things that they want to do, pro giving them the opportunity and the latitude to create the games that they wanted to create, pro all of this, and then to have something of this egregious nature happen in that 48 hours ago, 24, 48 hours ago, 36 hours, whatever the time frame is. It's disheartening. It really is disheartening. It feels like everything that all the PlayStation pundits, all the talking heads on the internet, including ourselves, everything that everybody was fighting uh, about not happening is exactly what happened. I feel like not that we've been not that we've been lied to. Um, I feel like this is probably the first time that I truly think Microsoft doesn't know what it wants to do. Um, it doesn't want to be a software company and doesn't want to just be a third party developer, but it doesn't want to continue to pour resources into their own first party development studios. Like, these are the studios that you purchased, and you gave these people this sense of security in their jobs, a sense of security in being able to have the creative freedom to do what they wanted to do, the flexibility on getting that done because of the huge umbrella that Microsoft is, and the enormous enormous amounts of money that they have to throw at this type of stuff. You gave them this idea that they could do that, and then to have the rug pulled out from under them, which I'm sure the vast majority of them feel like has happened, is very disheartening. And for a company that is already on its heels in regards to public opinion, Jared, it's a very, very slippery slope that Microsoft finds himself on right now. And I just don't, we have to be very, very clear that in this day and age of instant hot takes, in this day and age of instant media and instant access to information, that is very easy for us, myself included in that us, but it's very easy for us to have these very instant takes and instant reactions, and maybe even knee-jerk reactions. These type of stuff, I know it happens in business all the time, but because we live in a day and age where we have so much more access to information, whether it happened so much in the past or not, it was not as visible as it is right now. And I think that especially being blue collar, understanding how hard I work for my dollar and understanding what it takes to put food on our table and a roof over our head. The idea that Microsoft would purchase these companies just to shut them down ultimately, it doesn't sit well with me. And I think that's the maturity that I've had as a human being, as a man, as a father, as a provider. Um, my idea on what I want to support does not align with that. I was very, very adamant in my distaste for Sony at the time and how I had stopped supporting Sony from the standpoint I stopped buying product, I stopped playing the platform. I mean, it's really more of an egg in my face because I bought the platform already. So now I'm not paying. I wasn't playing what I bought, but it was my way of sticking it to them. But now I
So
feel
I
like my go ahead.
no, I was gonna say I just wasn't sure if you're. Please continue. Absolutely.
No, so now I feel like my my ideals don't line up with the company that I was supporting or, predominantly supporting in Microsoft. I don't know what message they're trying to send anymore. And it's disheartening just as a human being, but take the human being aspect of out of it now that we've talked about that as a gamer, um, because you want companies to have the opportunity to create something new. Everybody continues to focus on Gears of War 5, Halo 17, the next iteration of whatever, but
Fable, whatever.
Fable 35, like whatever the number is, right? We continue to focus on these next iterations of these same titles. But where's the freedom to create? Where's the freedom to create the next Fable, create the next Gears of War, create the next big thing that's going to take the this current console generation, which has been lackluster to say the very, very least, um, and propel it to the next generation. I don't see how this is garnering support. I don't see how this is gaining trust of one, first and foremost, all these new employees that you have. You're not gaining their trust. You're not gaining the trust of the public. You continuing to take black eye after black eye in the court of public opinion. It's not pretty, and it has not been pretty for Microsoft for a while. I mean, we finally had a victory in being able to close that deal, and then we turn around and show exactly why we probably shouldn't have did the deal in the first place because we don't have the resources to take care of different uh, all these different developers that we've acquired, right? So now we don't have the resources to take care of them, but we bought them all, and we've given these people this idea that they have a false sense of security, or that they have a sense of security, which we've come to prove that is now false. That security is false. They don't have security because they were just let go, and
You talk about uh, not having the room to fail. In the case of Tango GameWorks,
they were successful. They were
uh,
successful.
I don't get
So
it. I
you
just don't
can't
get
you
it.
can't win for
Yeah,
losing. You can't lose for winning. Like
yeah.
I don't understand. You were successful. You were literally nobody seen you coming. And if we're gonna be fair, Microsoft was the beneficiary of that because that game was in development since 2017. This was before the Bethesda acquisition. This was before that acquisition. So technically, Microsoft didn't have anything to do with that game outside of whatever the last polishing or the last final touches. They were the beneficiary of that game because it was been in development since 2017. So that was before this acquisition was even it may have been a thought, but this is before anything was actually really, really, really considered. And yet, even with their success, they were still laid off. It's almost like you like basketball. Do you remember Avery Johnson? Used to play for the San Antonio Spurs.
Mm-hmm.
Was coach of the year and was subsequently fired the next season. Has never coached in the NBA again.
Well, we just saw that as far as Frank Vogel, who was just fired again.
One season in, yeah,
Yeah,
one
one
season into
season
his
in.
tenure,
So, yeah.
yeah. But that was a coach of the year. Avery Johnson was a coach of the year and has not coached in the NBA again. So we're rewarding these people that are winning by taking away their jobs. Like this really seems It seems backwards to me. And the even more frustrating part of that is that these are companies. I just want to be able to feel good about who I'm supporting in everything, and while we don't want to get politicky here, in politics, I want to feel good about who I'm supporting. In life, I want to feel good about who I'm supporting. I want to be able to give my money to people who I feel deserve to have my business. And when you start incorporating shady practices, and that's not what I'm saying Microsoft is doing, I want to be clear. I'm not saying that they're having any shady practices, but what I can tell you is that this doesn't look good. They don't have a vision. They don't know who they want to be or what they want to be. And I've been a firm supporter of Phil Spencer on this show. I've been a firm supporter of Phil Spencer. Um, in general, I've been a firm supporter of Phil Spencer. If there was ever a time that he needs to be on the hot seat, it's right now. It's right now. I don't know how much more goodwill he thinks he has with the gaming community, or with Wall Street, whomever. I don't know how much more goodwill he thinks he's garnered or how much he has left. But I can tell you, whatever he thinks he has is less than half of that. Like it's really it's getting to the point now. We've heard enough promises. We've heard enough. Yay, rah rah rah. I'm pro gamer. I'm pro gamer. Blah 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 blah. For as big as the Game Pass push has been, I can tell you I've probably played maybe two, maybe three games on Game Pass since I've had it that I had not had that I wouldn't have played if I didn't have Game Pass.
Okay, because that's
But
all I do. That's when I
yeah,
just now
and that's
play
fair.
games that I would not have played on Games Pass. So for me,
Yeah,
I
and that's
I try
that's
to take
fair.
advantage of it at all possible. So,
And you should, and you absolutely should, and I should. But I'm very much a victim of that looks good. I want it now. I'm going to play it, and I don't have a lot of time. So for me, what works for me is playing games that I've already kind of been a little more familiar with, and um, that I don't have to work as hard to try to get into as far as from a just getting into the game standpoint. So for me, I haven't been able to really take advantage of the Game Pass as much as I'd like to. But I say that to say it hasn't been as important and clearly hasn't been as much of a selling point as they thought it would be, considering the fact that now they've only been going up in the single digits on Game Pass for, as of recent. I don't know exactly the time that they're looking at, but it hasn't grown the way that they thought it was going to grow. And at this point now, they have to start reevaluating once again what it is they want to do, who it is that they want to be. And the concern with that is you guys are supposed to have known this already. You guys are supposed to have known who you wanted to be and have been making progress towards getting there. We are now in the third year, fourth year of this console generation, and we still don't have a direct vision. We still don't have a mission statement. We still don't have the blueprint for who it is we want to be or what it is that we want to do, and that's concerning. That should be very concerning to Microsoft fans. That should be very concerning to people that work directly for Phil Spencer or for Microsoft. Um, I don't know. It's 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 tough when you're online and you're trying to be a fan and you're trying to be a supporter of a particular brand. I don't have a problem with console wars. I think that they're a bit excessive at times, but I want you to root for who you want to root for, right? Just as long as you keep it friendly. But it's harder and harder to defend Microsoft as of late. It really, really is. It's getting very difficult from the lack of quality first party games, first party software, to the lack of innovation, to the lack of now support for their support for their development teams. It's weird. It's a weird time to be a Microsoft fan.
once again, it is TJ Johnson. He's going to stop by here and continue our conversation on Xbox and what's going on there. I am sorry for all the individuals that have lost jobs in regards to this week. It's very, very tough. This year as a whole has been very tough on the video game industry. And I know that
Yeah.
very much, there's a lot of questions going forward about the industry as a whole. I can get the Arcane Austin closure, and uh, this is a business. I understand that. Redfall was a high priced disaster. And seeing the numbers today from Warner Brothers that they posted, that it looks like for them, they will have a $200 million write off.
$1 million. Wow.
Yes, $200 million write off when it concerns the Suicide Squad game. That's bad. And I can understand that.
Very
But
bad.
it also tells you that you can't have a failure. You can't have a failure at all. And even in the case of Tango Gameworks, you just can't have a game that is beloved by those who play it. You need, whether it's good or bad, just to pop your game. It's just all about dollars and
Yep.
cents. It's just becoming, that whether it's a free to play, whether it's games lives at service, whether it's just a straight up,
Microtransactions.
yeah, does not matter. Your game doesn't matter if it's good or bad. At this point, it's just all about numbers at this point. It's just clear that it's no longer about the industry, about the gamer, about having cult hits, or about growing something as far as a fan base going forward. No, it's all about making the dollars and cents and making it now.
Yeah, it is. And we've always known that money has been the driving force for a lot of for all of business, for most business decisions. The problem with that is that you have these darling developers and these darling companies. Like I'll look at, there's a huge game, or not actually, that wasn't a huge game. It was a game that was very, very well loved, and it was received very, very well, but it just didn't sell gangbusters. I'm talking about Beyond Good and Evil. It's one of my favorite games from the was it the eighth generation of consoles, so the original Xbox. Um, one of my favorite games of all time. The world building, everything about it was fantastic. Cult classic because it didn't get hot until well after it was gone, and then people started realizing how good of a game it was. We've been trying to get a sequel from Ubisoft for that game for 10 years. 10 years they've been working on a sequel for that game. We haven't got it yet. I use that example to say that it didn't sell well, and because it doesn't sell well, and if it doesn't sell well, it gets very hard for anybody to move forward with those particular projects. Another recent game, you look at a game like Days Gone, that was released on the PlayStation 4, I want to say. People did not play it at first. People didn't play it, and then with it being part of the Legacy or the Essentials collection on the PlayStation 5, people got a chance to be reintroduced to what that team at Ben Studio did, and realized, hey, this is actually a pretty good game, and wanted to fight for a sequel, but it was too late. It was too late. Nobody wanted a sequel at that point. The developers said that Sony wasn't interested in the sequel because it didn't sell well the first time. So I say that to say it's always been about the money. As unfortunate as it is, it's always been about the money. But now, this was such a this would not be as huge of a deal if A, Microsoft didn't fight so hard for this acquisition. B, Microsoft was not continuously taking hit after hit after hit to their public image. And C, we wouldn't do things like have a game that sells extremely well to turn around and close their studio. Now, I mentioned that the game has been in development since 2017, Hi-Fi Rush. Or, yeah, Hi-Fi Rush. Really had nothing to do with Microsoft. Really had nothing to do with Microsoft. So I would venture to think that Microsoft was probably like, this isn't going to sell very well. It's not going to be very well received. We just need to get this game out. Very similar to Redfall. They knew that they didn't have a hit in Redfall. They knew that it wasn't going to be good. They said, let's just go ahead and get it out. Get it out, and we'll move forward. I think that they were definitely not expecting Hi-Fi Rush to be what it was. And because they weren't expecting it to be what it was, I think that they probably knew that they were going to be taking a huge hit as far as the public court of public opinion when it turned out to be as good as well received as it was. Um, I think that they did this acquisition knowing that they were probably going to close those studios before the acquisition was completed because they probably looked down their pipeline and seen what they had going on and realized that it probably didn't align with their vision. So I say all that to say I'm sure that this is shocking to us, but they knew what they were doing all along. And the fact that Hi-Fi Rush was as well received as it did, as it was, put more of a problem for them because now we're the ones having a conversation, right? How do you have a game that sells as well as Hi-Fi Rush and was received as well as them, and then you turn around and close the studio? I don't think that they were prepared for it to do what it did. And it kind of goes back to the point of I don't know who they want to be. I don't know what they want to do or who they are trying to appease at this point anymore. If it's just the shareholders, then just say it's the shareholders. Just become a third-party software company and worry about publishing games on other consoles that have the Microsoft logo on it, if that's what you want to do. But if you want to continue to appease gamers and appeal to the gaming community, which is what all the talking heads seem to say, all the Phil Spencers and the Aaron Greenbergs, and that's what they all are saying. However, nothing that Microsoft has done has proven that. And I think we're tired of the talk. We're tired of hearing about it. At some point you either need to put up or shut up. And I think we're ready for, if we're not, we're getting really, 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 really close to being ready for Phil Spencer to just shut up.
And that is unfortunately the case for myself. I think very similarly to you, it's very concerning right now as an Xbox owner what the future of the platform would be. But if you're not going to fully commit to it by making the moves or saying one thing and doing the other, it does not look good for Xbox right now. And that's very disappointing indeed for the industry as a whole and what the future of it may be. But TJ, I just cannot thank you enough for stopping by. Hopefully next time you and I can talk about something a little bit more cheerful, but any last thoughts, my friend, before we head on out?
I can't wait to talk about the season finale of X-Men. That's going to be fun.
Okay.
That's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to
Yes,
that.
I do want you back for that. I know that a lot of Marvel announcements are being made. Even though that the number of movies and TV shows per year, according to Bob Iger, were going to be reduced. There still is always excitement there.
You know, I don't know if I agree, and I'm sure we can touch on that on another show. But I think as long as you can put out quality content, you don't need to put a number on how much you're going to put out. You know, say 3 movies and 3 TV shows. That's great. But if you can create quality content and you can put out 4 movies or 5 movies and they are all quality films, then you put them out. I think it's just a matter of you really needing to stay in touch with what the audience is looking for, and being able to tell a cohesive story and not have us guess at what you're trying to do all the time. But I digress. That's a conversation for another day.
That's why I have him on the show. He does it better than anyone. It is TJ Johnson. TJ, it is so great to have you here. I will fire up my Xbox later tonight in honor of you, my friend, even though it may become an antiquity here at some point in time in the not too distant future, the way that Xbox is going at this rate. But we will see. Yeah. I know that Xbox will be on the tip of our tongues at some point in time down the road once again, because they just can't help themselves. Plus, with E3, not E3 around the corner, there's going to be much to discuss in regards to the video game industry in the not too future, and we'll do it right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos.